in, inside baseball. It's inside board discussions and inside the contest committee. So the general public doesn't know these things, but hopefully they have enough faith in us to know that we're doing everything we can to make the adjudication part of this the most reliable and educational part of the experience for them.
I think this partial, like, seeing behind the curtain in this podcast episode is really helpful, because sometimes for someone who's not on the board to participate in NABBA, you see the end result of the decisions, but you don't see like the whole multi-year plan. You don't see the decision-making process and the reasons behind it. And so having this opportunity, I think, to talk about some of these things can really inform people who were at the championship and participating in these bands, so that they understand like what the long game is.
Yeah, well, we intentionally don't talk about those things on this podcast. This is not a NABBA podcast.
Right. It's just that right around NABBA, we're doing like these few extra episodes.
But yeah, we do have access to a lot of inside information right here. Right now. But I think if this podcast were all about that, I think it would be boring.
Yeah, let me tell you, if you guys want to know what it was like backstage for all the first section, I got you. I was there. It happened.
Yeah.
Amy walked right past me. Nice. I waved at Amy as she was walking onto the stage, and she just like.
I'm in the zone, man. Like when I'm walking on stage, like I am ready to go.
My favorite part of doing that was, people thinking that I know what's going on. Like I was dressed in my suit to look presentable, and but I was like that. They kept asking me. Like they would be like, oh, what's this, and do this and that sort of thing, when Alex was off doing, whatever he needed to be doing at the time. And they would ask me, and I had this like reaction of like, they pay me to read, not to lead. I'm just here. I'm here to read this script and this script only. This is what I know about.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people also don't know is that the board is sectionalized. It's split up into committees. And the contest committee planned the contest, and people who weren't on the contest committee don't really have a lot of knowledge base about the planning part of it. And the people that are on the development committee, they handled the vendors and that, and the rest of the board doesn't know what's going on over there. When we get to board meetings, each committee gives their report, and that's how we handle the business. So the board meetings are efficient and are about talking about but the real work is all done in the committee work. And some committees are busier than others this year because the contest committee was hella busy.
Those of us who aren't involved in like the planning stuff, like we can hear about this stuff and we can bring it to them and all that sort of thing. So we're happy to hear about it, but it's not like we know about it. Like, why was the judging like that? I don't know. You know who does? The people who are really intimately involved in it. And if you have a concern, I can bring it up to them. But
yeah, and it's a matter of just maximizing the resources, and because when you have 20 people trying to make decisions on something, it takes way too long to come to a consensus on something. When you have 5 people or 6 people, it's so much more there's so much easier consensus made. And the board members are so smart and professional and easy to work with, and not disagreeable. Like if there's a disagreement, then we professionally talk those things through, so we do come to an agreement on things. And
everybody has this like opinion that it's like British Parliament, like we're like yelling at each other and cursing at each other and like swinging at each other.
It's a great group of people, and because this was the first one, Mark Taylor and myself had the biggest hand in planning this contest, mainly because we needed to know everything that was going on. Somebody had to develop the knowledge base of how to do this. So between myself, Mark Taylor, and Ken Eversmeyer, we know everything. And we will be writing a handbook this summer.
Including the secret of the universe.
That has everything in it about running a contest. So each successive year from now, even when we all rotate off the board and there's a new team 5 years from now that are handling running the contest, here's how you do it. And there was a handbook that was written many, many, many years ago that has a lot. It's just not even relevant for. It was written for 12 bands, in a 1-day contest. So we're developing the groundwork for the future of how this contest is run, and all of the stuff that we did this year, we're learning how to do it and to put it in it and make it something that is knowledge that can be passed on. So we needed it to be in a little bit of a small group. We couldn't have 12 people knowing their little part, because then it would be much more difficult to put all this stuff down on paper when we put it together. But next year, I promise you, next year there will be more board members doing more pre-planning stuff, because now we know what to give them after going through all of this. It was an exciting thing to plan an event. Like I plan concerts all the time, but this was massive, and the amount of moving parts. There's 750 moving parts, and then when this thing affects this thing, and if this thing doesn't happen, then this thing, it changes this, and it was a lot. It was a lot. So hopefully all the we had some mishaps that were completely unacceptable. We the Salon 3, there was performances going on for the solo and ensemble contest, and the North Hall ballroom in there had a band in there doing a sound check while those performances were going on. And the soundproof room that doesn't appear to be very soundproof when you have Van Halen rocking through, it just ruined that. That was, that sound check was not supposed to happen for 2 more hours until after the solo and ensemble stuff was done. Something in the Von Braun Center with that other with that other event that was there that it didn't happen. So we refunded all of those performers that got messed up by that. We refunded their entry fee, because it completely ruined everything that was going over there. So we're trying to solve all these problems and make sure that those things don't happen again. The vibraphone delay on the concert hall stage, that won't happen again. Obviously, we'll make sure that'll never happen again. But the percussion thing is the solution for making sure that there are no percussion issues next year has already been, I have the solution for that, and I'm already in the plans for making sure that happens. And so the lessons that are learned, so that there can be hopefully people will have a lot of faith that they will be fixed in the next year. And like I said, I think 80% of those issues were residuals of something that happened that was beyond our control, and really did screw up a big plan that had months of planning in it. So so that all of those things aside, I still think it was it was a fairly successful weekend that I think most people.
I thought it was wildly successful. I mean, you can't plan fireworks going off. Like, you have no, you like that. You don't know about that. Like,
I literally did not know about that until 8:50 on Friday night.
Until we all knew about it.
What? Wait, what? But on Saturday night, and I actually didn't even really realize this, but on Saturday night, I put the contest flow together that had no band playing from 9 to 9:15, which is right when the fireworks were supposed to happen.
So somebody should have just made their choice piece 1812. Is really what.
That would be amazing. That would be amazing. But yeah.
So we had some submission reflection type things about just like moving forward, right, Amy? Do you want to share a couple with those so we can discuss those with us?
Yeah. So I asked Dublin, just to kind of, what they would like to know about, moving forward. Cause I just wanted to see, like, as we do this, NABBA recap, what questions Dublin had, and they were actually much more forward thinking instead of backward. They wanted to know more things about what's coming up with NABBA in the future. And I think that they had some great questions. And they wanted to know about the process of picking the test pieces and setting the difficulty of the sections and what NABBA is doing about that. They wanted to know they've heard rumors that NABBA was doing some things outside of just the championship. And you've hinted at a few of those things. They wanted to know a little bit more about that as well.
Well, the test piece selection was something that was really important for us to kind of really even that out a little bit. So we are definitely sending a message or making a clear delineation about what each section should be in terms of the level of music that they should be playing in there. It has the natural progression over the years is for each section to get harder and harder in their repertoire. And it's gotten to the point now where we feel that we don't have a true entry level section where so it's based around the third section, and the third section test piece has gotten to the level of difficulty that if you started a brass band and came for the first time, it's not a get your feet wet type of choice. And we wanted to turn that around so that we had a true entry level band section, which was the third section. So we lowered the level of difficulty of the third section. In order to do that, we had to space the second section in between the third section and the first section. And so we lowered the level of the difficulty level of the second section a little bit, so that we had a progression, 3 different distinct levels of difficulty in the test piece between the first section, second section, and third section. The championship section, we're going to destroy them. Titan's Progress is as tough as you can get.
Don't hold back. Let us know how you really feel. No. We're going to destroy.
Yeah, I mean, if the Paul Ever Cooper didn't do it this year, then we'll take him out next year. But the Titan's Progress was the test piece in 2020 when we canceled. So everybody, had bought the music. They had rehearsed it for several months. And everybody, as best I could tell, everybody was jazzed about playing it. So we're like, you know what? We need to do it. We need to get this piece out there because everybody loves this piece. It's a great piece of music and it's a great challenge. So, that was kind of an easy one. Let's do that. But then we got into the first section, and we typically don't choose a test piece that has been used by a band as a choice piece in the preceding years, either 3 or 4 years. And we're in the situation now where nobody played Year of the Dragon this year. And we haven't had the contest in 2 years prior to that. So it'll be at least 4 years since anybody has competed at NABBA with Year of the Dragon. And Year of the Dragon has not been used as a test piece since about 1992 or so, at least as far as the European Championships or NABBA. It's been a long time, but somebody plays it every single year. So we never could choose it as a test piece. Well, this is the only opportunity we would ever have to choose it as a test piece, because surely somebody would play it next year as a choice piece. So we decided, well, it's a great piece. It's been forever.
I almost guarantee you've ruined somebody's plans to use it as their choice piece next year.
But no, we just made it easy for them because now they can do it in the first section and they can.
Now you get 2 choice pieces.
Yeah, if you were choosing it anyways. But I think this is a unique opportunity, to take one of just about everybody's favorite brass band pieces and one of the great masterworks of the brass band literature, put it center stage and have a Year of the Dragon battle, which I think is going to be
Dragon battle.
What's the animal for next year? Is it a dragon? Does anybody know?
We did not look at that level.
That was not part of the criteria in selecting the piece.
If it was literally the Year of the Dragon, that would be like so coincidental, but so hilariously fun.
Well, and you heard the auditorium when you announced that piece, they announced the third section. It was like, hey, second section, yeah, and then they go Year of the Dragon. And everyone's like, yeah, like the whole crowd freaked out. And now you get a whole Friday of that.
Oh no, it's the year of the rabbit. It'll the year of the
all right,
dragon is
all right,
2024.
all right, Spark, get on it. Make a year of the bunny.
I want to hear the year of the bunny.
The bunny. Yeah.
Now I have a question.
The rabbit of Seville.
I have a question. Like, did you consider adding a fourth section? Did you guys talk about that? And what was the reasoning between either modifying third section versus adding fourth section?
Well, we did talk about that. And the simple answer we came to is there's not enough bands to justify it right now. You know, we had 7 bands in the third section and 6 bands in the second section and 7 bands in the first section this year. It doesn't really make any practical sense to add a whole nother section right now. It's not off the table for the future for sure. But it just didn't really make any practical sense. We don't have a large enough clientele base to really justify that. But we also, felt that, with these repertoire choices, and if we continue to follow, this level model in each successive year, we think it really evens out what everybody can do, because it gives you an easy, a medium, and a hard non-championship section. And then you have the championship section.
It does make, if there's a level of consistency of difficulty too, you absolutely know what you're digging yourself into with that. Because like I loved working on Hope and all that sort of a thing, but everybody who had done a NABBA before was like, this seems a little bit harder than what second normally would do. And so we picked a slightly easier piece for our own choice in comparison because we had to spend so much time on Hope. And this allows us to do the opposite. And I think if you really want to like win choice piece, especially in a second section, first section type situation, you're going to want to be a little bit more flashier with your choice piece, as well as very proficient in your choice piece. And so I think doing the Downey, the personal variations is perfect for that because I can pick a slightly harder piece now for choice. But really work on what the Downey wants us to work on, the technique behind that and all that sort of a thing. So I in terms of the section that I'm most intimately involved in, it seems like mission accomplished when it comes with that.
Yeah, and that's the key element to all of this is that bands have the ability to choose, unlike in other places where they're told what section they're in or they have to earn their way in or out of a section. Around here, it's the wild, wild west. We can choose whatever we want to be in based on, the marketplace is going to bear this out. If you choose to put your band in a section that eventually is going to bore your players or overtax your players, then you're going to have discontentment in your band. And so you have to really choose which section you go in that's the right challenge or the right level of difficulty for the test piece. And then pick your choice piece that's going to complement it, either on a either up for more of a challenge or down for a little bit less of a challenge, so that your band is going to be happy with what music they're working on. The choice piece thing is a real critical thing. Not as NABBA president, but just as a brass band guy, if you don't pick the right choice piece, it could really hurt or help, your overall program. Now, this is going to be more or less irrelevant in the future when we have the discussions about whether we're going to separate sections for performing their program in its entirety, which has
love to have first section separated. I just got to voice my opinion there because
You're not the only one.
Because going from championship section to first section, I honestly thought that the range would go down a little bit, but I had just as many high notes, the same high notes that I had in championship in first section, and that was a little bit of a learning experience, having to play both of them right after each other.
The reality is that most of the first section bands are choosing championship level repertoire for their choice piece. No matter what we choose for the test piece, you had Enigma variations, you had the Odyssey variations that
someone did the Will Be. Someone did the Paganini variations.
Yeah. So, they're choosing to do championship level music, but, the discussions are going to happen. Like, I don't know that we're definitely going to do it, but I do know that I'm on the contest committee, and I know that we're going to have this discussion about ways to split up. Definitely the first section. That one really seems evident that it has to happen, but it needs to happen for all the sections, and that has a lot more to do with the adjudication side of it than it does about the chop side of it. The third section, I was in the third section. We handled our program endurance-wise without a problem. The second section is getting a little bit trickier, especially because of the difficulty of hope. May be less of a problem this year, but the first section definitely, with what they're choosing to do, it's untenable at this situation, and it needs to happen.
Well, it'll also, in terms of just attendance, it'll change things up a little bit too, because more people have to be there multiple days. Like, have to be there. Like, no choice behind it if you're participating. Like, a lot of my band who didn't know any better, they showed up Friday night for our rehearsal and played Saturday and literally left. Right? Yeah. And like, that's the whole point of me having you here was for you to experience this thing, not to play a concert. Like, that's not what we're doing. Yeah. And so if you have to play Friday and you have to play Saturday, you get it on Thursday, even just on that standpoint.
Yeah, the number of bands that we're anticipating, like I'm confident that we're going to have 40 plus bands next year. There's no way to do it all on Saturday. Mm-hmm. There's no way. So the NABBA membership and participants at NABBA, in order for this to be the event that it can and should be, are going to have to start getting their heads around the fact that it is a 2-day event, not just a 1-day event. It is a 2-day event, and that's just for the band competition. So like that's where we're going, and it will be a better experience, and the outcomes will be more reliable when every band is playing separate. But that doesn't necessarily mean they all have to be Friday, Saturday. We could also work it out so some bands are doing Saturday, morning, afternoon in separate performances, because they're going to be, like the youth bands have real problems getting there and getting the kids out of school. So they pretty much need to be on Saturday, but we can split them up and have them play twice on Saturday. So it's just a matter of logistically moving the schedule around and making that stuff happen, but there are going to have to be bands that perform on Friday. And, if it doesn't happen next year, it's going to happen the year after, because the bands are only getting more bands, not less. And we already know that. Yeah. So, the option, there's two options. There's, it's a 2-day event. Do you want the 2-day event to be Friday, Saturday, or Saturday, Sunday? So, there's no way to avoid it going to be, 2 days.
Oh man, I would hate to go to work on Monday if it started doing stuff on Sunday.
The Europeans
I already hate going to work on Monday.
I know. The Europeans are Saturday, Sunday. The regionals in England are Saturday, Sunday. But the biggest problem that we have, the biggest obstacle that we have in North America for brass banding is geography. When you go to the areas in England, you have a 30-minute drive or an hour drive to get home. So it doesn't matter. It's right around the corner from you. Over here,
give them some credit. It's an hour and a half, Tony.
Some people have an hour. Well, yeah, they have to get the sheep out of it.
If a sheep is crossing the road,
Exactly.
Yeah. So our biggest obstacle is always going to be geography, and so many decisions have to be made because of that.
I live in a border state of Alabama, and it still took us 11 hours to get there.
So what is...
If half of that was Atlanta, though. Let's just put that out there. Right. Atlanta was 2 hours of that.
I think that's a great segue into what is NABBA planning to... we've heard rumors of some more participation in regional events and things that NABBA is doing outside of just the championship. Can you fill us in on some of those?
Yeah. We've actually been working on partnering, and we have a board approved proposal to expand partnerships with events that have already been happening. We started off this year 2022 with Gateway in Dublin, where we partnered with them to work on their adjudication and provide funds to make those events happen. And we're expanding next year. The groundwork is being laid. We're not ready to officially announce yet, but the groundwork is laid for San Francisco regional. The San Francisco Brass Band is going to host a regional event at San Jose State.
Awesome.
So California is going to have its very first NABBA partnered event out there, as far as I know. Cool. Toronto, the Hannaford Silver Band up there is looking to do one up there, and we're in laying the groundwork for that. And Mid-Atlantic, there's been discussions with Mid-Atlantic developing their event with a partnership with us as well. So, with the championships being in the South and having a regional West Midwest, East Midwest, Canada, and the East Coast, just about every brass band in North America will have an event within an 8 or 9 hour drive, for most everybody. So there will be access to that.
And we've been talking about doing a Florida event. All the Florida bands have been talking about doing a rotating Florida event to put one in the Southeast, or there's also that Georgia one too.
Yeah. So NABBA is open for business, and we're going to be providing funding for that. The more successful the national event is, the more opportunities there are going to be for helping the regional ones. And also, I think it's worth mentioning that that I know that it was a shift in mindset to enter the bands into the contest separately from handling the memberships to NABBA. But the memberships for NABBA, that money, most of it does not have to be spent on the competition. In the past, 100% of it was spent on the competition. Now, your NABBA membership fee is separate from the competition. Some of that money will have to be used to subsidize some of the cost of the competition, but hopefully over the years, the competition will be set up to be self-sufficient in what it brings in and what it spends to run the competition. So all of the individual membership dues can be used for promoting the brass band aside from the contest, which is regionals, commissions, promotion of other bands and other initiatives, all those things. So that was the reason for doing that. While it was a pain in the butt and everybody had to do it on their own, there's a greater goal and a greater facilitation with that's going to benefit brass bands all over the United States and Canada, not just the ones that go to the competitions. So so we've laid the groundwork for all that, and we really appreciate everybody playing our little game and why we did that. But 3 years from now, I think everybody will really see the benefits of how that all worked out and why we had to do that. So that's,
with my band, it was a non-issue. We didn't know any better. Like, most of them had never done it before. It was a non-issue. It was like, okay, just go into this thing, register.
It was a non-issue for those that didn't know any better.
Well, also, like, there's so much in anything you do, and I'm not like trying to poke on anybody, but there's always just an amount of like, I don't like change. There's always just going to be an amount of that. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, I knew that there was going to be criticism of it. I knew it was going to be a pain in the butt for some bands, especially some bands, that, it's hard to facilitate that because the band was paying for their members' membership fee. So that, each band had to take on the responsibility of engineering how to do that for themselves. And, it was admittedly a pain in the butt for some people, but the greater good is being served for the brass band movement by doing it. So,
And as a band organizer, it was nice to have one less thing to organize. Genuinely, you have to go and do this thing. You're adults. Figure it out. Bye. It was real easy. Now, if I could just get them to I need everybody in my band. After what we just had, I need everybody to get their oil changed, tires rotated before we go to NABBA, and everybody to take a multivitamin the whole month of. Once January hits, just start taking your multivitamins, y'all. Just no more substitute directors, please. Dear God. I had more hair, believe it or not, before that competition. Was there any other submitted things? I've got one on my end, but it's pretty minor.
I didn't do it.
You absolutely didn't do it. I know you didn't do it.
Yeah,
Okay.
That insider
to know.
trading, that
I
money
think
ball.
I think we hit it. They also wanted to know splitting up the first section.
That's a huge topic of discussion, and if anybody wants to know, I'm for it. So
I think it's mostly just a logistics thing. Most really, it's not. Do we want to torture first section? It's logistically, can you?
Yeah, I think I think that the logistics thing is now that we've got this adjudication platform in place, a lot of the decisions are going to be driven by what is the best practice and what's going to make the evaluation the most reliable. So that's really important. To us. I don't. Hopefully it is to the bands too. And they'll accept the fact that, oh, why are we doing this? Well, it's because it's the best way to evaluate the bands. And people should understand that there is a ton of research that's out there on this, and we're not just thinking, oh, I think we should do this. Oh, I think we should do this. We're actually discussing this with experts and reading the research and figuring out the absolute best way to do this that's been proven empirically through other mediums that have already done this part of it, that we're just starting out on this journey. So it's not just a haphazard, oh, let's just try these things. We John Bell and I and John Phillips and Joe Allison, we put a lot of effort and time in the last 2 years to moving us in this direction.
Yeah, those were, I mean, we touched on everything. Aaron, did you have
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on and it was just something that came up a little bit in my band. The experience of the solo and ensemble stuff was great. It was a great time for everybody involved, and we had a lot of fun. And I'm gonna force more to do it, especially to fill up some of the categories a little bit more and all that sort of a thing. Because there were a lot of people who we had a guy who literally drives from the Villages in our band, because it happens when you play in a Florida band. The Villages is the world's largest retirement community, if I'm correct. It's probably, if it's not the largest, it's very large. It's about the size of Disney, and he competed in it, and getting to see him play and all that sort of a thing. And I think the big concern was, and I'm gonna bring it up, of course, but we were talking about just the way the comment sheet is very great for the comments part of it, and then you get a score total where there's no breakdown, so you don't really get an idea of why they have their score that way or whatever. It's just really nice comments. They were phenomenal. I feel bad. I walked up to Beth and handed her my music, and I did not recognize her because I was so in the zone for my solo. And I met her afterwards, and I was like, "Hi, by the way, my bad. I did not say hello." But then you just have a score box, and they just kind of give you an obligatory score. And so many of my guys are band directors who do solo and ensembles, and they're like, "Oh, they have these breakdowns." So I think that's something I might bring up. We had a massive undertaking with adjusting the score, how you get scores for the bands. That I think we can maybe adjust the solos just a little bit this time around.
And admittedly, we put more effort into band adjudication than solo and ensemble adjudication.
Fair point.
The solo and ensemble is a logistical nightmare to organize, and is a huge money loser for the contest, a massive money loser for the contest. Despite the fact that NABBA always takes it on the chin from a financial standpoint for it, because it's something that everybody wants. So it has value. But the judges cost a lot of money. We had fantastic judges for it. And I don't know if people really noticed this, but in the past, the band judges handled the solo and ensemble adjudication as well in the past. So imagine having to do solo and ensemble all day Friday, and then boom, you're doing all the band stuff right after it. Talk about an impossible task. So we separated that and got just expert tuba players for the tuba room, and we got the original intention was to really have a room for each instrument class. So there's going to be a cornet room, there's going to be a tenor horn room, there's going to be a baritone euphonium room, trombone room, tuba room, brass ensemble room, percussion room, and have one person that like Beth was originally going to be doing tubas. We had a trombone person for trombone, and so on. But because we had half the number of participants enter this year, we had to consolidate things and cut costs. And we still lost a lot of money, but but we had to consolidate. The intention is when we get back up next year to full forces, it's going to be separated out like that. And one of the things that we can do is say, is there a better way to, because there is no rubric for that. And I don't know how many solo and ensemble festivals out there that educators do have rubrics for that, because usually they're doing it for a rating, not a point total for a ranking of players. So that's one of the things we can look into is making sure that the solo and ensemble judges have a reliable ranking way to rank the players, other than I just thought that one was the best.
Yeah, and that's exactly what the people said. They were like, I bet there's a way we can adjust this, and they were like, we're happy to offer our feedback or whatever. Because again, I've got half my band are music educators, and they're thinking about it in that standpoint. So it'll be good. It wasn't like, oh, I hated it because of this. It wasn't one of those things. It was like, oh, we could adjust this and make it a little bit better, because the experience was great. I'm gonna force more of my guys to do it. They have to. I mean, it's too good of an experience, especially my younger people in the band. I don't have a lot of undergrads, but like those types of people, it'll be a good time. But that was like, and the only like, we didn't like this feedback from my whole band was that for the event. Well, now we don't know any better. Yeah. This is the first one, but
I mean, we're in the business of improving things, and this one thing we just ran it the way it always was run. Mm-hmm. Because we were focused on band contest this year, and next year, we'll figure out ways to improve solo and ensemble, and everything we're working on, always trying to take ideas that people have and try to find ways to make them a better experience for everybody. Everyone on the board is 100% committed to making this event the best event it could possibly be, including the brass band of Huntsville people who killed themselves to try to do that.
They crushed it. And it's so, and I feel like, especially the back half of this podcast, and if we're gonna like transition into our ending here, I feel like the back half it's really easy to talk about like things that need to change, and it sounds like complaining or like negativity or whatever in that point. But like, I mean, I know for a fact, but it was a phenomenal experience. The people who helped put this thing on should be commended so highly, like you, Mark, and the Huntsville people and Ken, and like genuinely so glad that it's back and that and that's how I felt on Saturday when all the bands got done. And I jokingly was like, I don't envy any of these judges. The other thing I was saying was like, NABBA's back, and I feel like so many of the bands played better than they've ever played before, and it was 2 or 3 years in waiting, but it was so worth it to see everything and have it.
Everyone was busting, like they're like in this intense, like compressed bubble, and they get on the stage and it's like, it all gets released, and it was a phenomenal experience, to finally get it out. I tend to focus on the things that didn't go well, because I'm right involved in all of it, so I certainly hope that everybody had a better experience than I thought they would have had, because I know those things that really went wrong, and I'm just like, I can't believe we missed that. Oh my God, I can't believe so next year, we'll learn from the mistakes and we'll make them better, and hopefully everybody will have a much better experience. So thanks for that.
And that's exactly what the bands are doing too. We learn from the experience, we get better, we come back, and everything gets better. So that's all I had to say about that. I feel like I've been talking about this nonstop since it happened.
Yeah, we should stop talking about it.
I told myself I wasn't going to do any brass band stuff on Monday when I got back. I was like, I'm just going to play a video game or whatever and just like decompress from the weekend or whatever. And then I ended up listening to catching up on the European Championships while scanning parts for next season for my band.
Yeah, I started working on the Athena music and getting stuff ready for the summer youth brass band course at Dublin. So,
Is Athena playing at IWBC?
Yes, it
Yay.
is. Yay.
That's awesome. I
And
continue
we're
to wrap up the NABBA contest, so I'm still working on NABBA.
we're playing the Dorothy Gates piece.